3 of the OKS Youth Ministers talk about youth ministry. I am Michael Deese, and I am joined by Jeremy Crow and Hunter Puckett. How are thou?
Jeremy's a little tired today. He had a long trip.
I'm all tuckered out.
Look at him. He almost fell walking up the steps. Did you see that? He was walking up the steps up to our little recording room and almost just wiped out.
Oh man.
Yes.
When you get that age, you really can't stay up that late.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm running about 3 nights in a row of about 5 hours of sleep, which is not great.
Hey, Jeremy, hold on. Listen, you're talking to 2 people who have kids under 5.
True, but
I've yet to see my sleep score go above 75.
If there was ever
a
a day that I got more than 5 hours of sleep, I think I would probably cure cancer.
But let me say, I feel like I've been burning the wick at both ends, man, I am. We went to Harding yesterday. I went with Sam Welsh, and we rode. I left my house at 4:30 yesterday morning, and I got back home at 11:30 last night. So it was 19 hours from the time I left to get back, and I was whipped, man. And this morning,
what were you doing there though?
we went and interviewed some interns
At their what?
At their intern fair.
Yeah.
Which they also have today, which I...
Hey, didn't they do some kind of a youth ministry
I skipped that.
Didn't they do some kind of youth
Yep.
ministry thing?
Wait, did you see Luke?
It's today. It's happening right now.
Did you see Luke while you were there?
Dude,
Yes.
hey, wait. First, can we talk
Sorry,
about
I
how
can't-
awesome Luke Dockery is?
Did you get any more
Yes.
books for me?
I actually said to him, Hunter Puckett told me to get any of your books that you have if you have any new books. But then he
Didn't have any new books?
He didn't come back by, so I don't know if he has new books or not.
You can go to Deeper Youth Ministry, and
I know, but it's cooler if you get them from him.
it is. It's
You should check out Deeper Youth Ministry.
It's better than any website we've ever had.
Currently, for sure.
No, Luke's awesome. They do such a great job over there. And he came and spoke at lectureships a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Did fantastic. But it's always good to talk to him about youth ministry.
He's very good.
We need to discuss something really important right now. And I'm not going to say any names, but
This is going to go well.
we have been sponsored.
Oh yeah, that's right.
We have been sponsored for our vendor booth at the Lads to Leaders, and is it called and Leaderettes anymore?
Yeah.
Lads to Leaders convention in Nashville, Tennessee, Easter weekend. One of our faithful listeners asked me if we were going to have a vendor booth. I said yes. He said, "Have you paid for it yet?" And I said, "No, I'm sending a check this week." He goes, "I want to pay for it."
What an absolute stud.
And I said, "Do you just have you been listening and heard us complain about M2I?" He said, "Yeah, y'all been on that." So Lucas, just so you know, it does happen. So maybe consider also doing that.
I do want to point out, one, thank you so much for that.
Yeah, we're not going to say his name because he didn't want his name mentioned.
We do love M2I. We just also love picking on Lucas.
Yes,
That's the main thing that we love to do is pick on Lucas.
How super
We were going
cool.
to pay either way, but we just love picking on Lucas. But it would be cool if we didn't have to.
And this guy is not a youth minister. He's just a dad, which is just really cool that he sees value in what we're doing. And said, "Man, I want to help that." So it was really cool. So thanks.
That is pretty cool.
Thanks, unnamed dad out there.
Who asked to be unnamed.
Yeah.
Well, we do appreciate that. But we haven't been recording, or we haven't really posted the past 2 weeks. We've had a handful of things going on. We didn't really have anything lined up as far as us to be able to post some pre-recorded stuff. But we're back. We kind of started a series last recording, I guess you would say.
A month or so ago.
Yeah, and we're kind of continuing that. And today's topic is the first youth program cut. And we're kind of keeping this a little bit broad as far as a discussion goes, but it's, maybe something that an event that you had to cancel, maybe it's something where your youth budget was cut, so you had to get rid of some things, or maybe it was a limited budget. But what we're kind of looking at today is really kind of youth ministry on a limited resource budget. Things that we had to get rid of, things that we had to maybe shift around and continue with that. So that's kind of what we're looking at. And here's the thing. Let me ask all this. How painful is it to sit down with your elders to have a budget discussion? Do y'all walk into that meeting nervous, or y'all like, okay, like it's going to go in my favor? Or how do you feel about that?
Well,
leading up
yeah, go
to this year, it's usually I'm nervous, and I don't ever ask for more money than I need to do what I want to do, and so going in, I'm always nervous that I'm not going to be able to do all the things that I would like to do.
Yeah.
And so, but this year, I was blessed because I went in and I had a budget and I had a huge increase on our budget. I mean, it was like 30% or more, and gave them that number, and they looked at it and they said, "That's not enough money. We want to increase it to this much." And I was like, "What?" And so they said, "Yeah, we want you to be able to do everything that you want to do. You're not going to have to cut things out and all that." So that was awesome. So next year, I'm just, I'll probably just go in with what I really need to have, and I'll expect to get it. I'm not too nervous about it.
Let me ask this, and if you can't talk to this, it's okay. But did y'all recently have some changes here that have made that more possible financially?
Well, yeah, we have in some instances. One of them is our building got paid off. So
yeah, that's what I wanted to ask, because
that's pretty awesome.
I think that we sometimes underestimate how important that debt servicing is. When you get that going, man, it frees up your church for so much ministry opportunity that maybe they were crippled in before.
Yeah, so we got rid of that, and then also our youth group has just grown.
Yeah,
we've had, I think I might be overshooting this a little bit, but I think it was 8 kids who have never been to church before who are now part of our youth group, which is pretty awesome. And all of them have been baptized now. So that's a really cool.
Yeah, I've been
really
busy
cool
over
deal.
here in the baptistry. I follow y'all on Facebook, and it's cool to keep up with that.
It's been pretty cool.
And have you been busy washing the baptistry still? Are you still cleaning?
No,
it
I'm not in
monthly?
charge of that anymore. So it's been really nice.
That's not your job.
No, not anymore. We had, I don't know if it was because I just wasn't doing it well, but they got a deacon to do it. So,
Okay.
But no, it's cool. I kind of do miss it, but
I had an interesting moment where, so my eldership absolutely works on the budget stuff. They settle things, figure out things, whatever. But sometimes they forget that they haven't communicated things to me, and that's just, you got a bunch of people to communicate things to. I get that, but we were getting ready to interview some intern stuff, and I called one of the elders and I was like, "Hey man, I'm going to interview some students," and I said, "I just needed to know if y'all approved my budget submission or if you cut it or what." He was like, "Oh, we hadn't told you, have we?" I said, "Nah." He goes, "Oh yeah, we approved what you asked for." I said, "Okay, cool." I said, this is like mid to late January, and I was like,
as you've already promised, like you've already found a girl for the summer.
Yeah,
and you're
yeah.
still
I've
looking
already
for a
told her,
guy.
and I mean, like I just said, well, I assumed that y'all did, but I've just been working on all of our plans as though I got approved.
Yeah.
I said, and if not, I was going to have to figure it out late year because I said, I've been planning Winterfest. I've been, doing intern stuff. I did EYC. I said, I just been doing stuff like we're going to, it's just crazy. So sometimes they forget to tell you that stuff.
So we have our spring retreat coming up, and our intern is coming on the spring retreat.
That's exciting.
That's
cool.
exciting.
Yeah.
We've got this weekend we're doing Winterfest, and one of our interns is coming with us.
Awesome.
I'm excited about that.
I was kind of in the same boat though as Jeremy. They didn't really communicate, or maybe, and I could have missed a meeting to where our area wides kind of line up on the same days as we have our leadership meetings at Flint. And I could have missed it just in the meetings and whatnot. I had no idea if my budget was approved or not until this past Sunday.
Yeah.
And I was like, guys, this is February. Like, what am I looking for?
It's not that they haven't decided.
No, and they already knew and they knew everything. But like, I might have missed the meeting, or they just this lack of communication. I was like, hey, like, did we get some of this stuff approved? Like, oh yeah, like it was approved. Like, you're good. I think everybody got approved, and they even mentioned this year that they're not doing a budget presentation. They usually do. And I guess they've gotten some negative feedback on people just don't enjoy listening to a budget presentation anymore like they used to.
Yeah.
So they said they left it out.
Did they ever used to?
I don't know, but
So-
they left it out in the 4 year. Like, hey, if y'all have any questions, come to us, guys. But we paid off our building last year. We've already started a new building project. We're getting more classrooms, so that's a large chunk of the building as well. But as you mentioned earlier, that does happen. And what we have to understand too within ministry is change is going to happen in our ministry,
Yep.
Regardless if we want to or not. Some big change that happened between all three of us within the past couple of years is we are no longer doing Decatur Work Camp the way we used to.
Yeah.
And there's a handful of reasons behind that, but one of those reasons is cost. It's too expensive now. The paint has gone up. The paint brushes have gone up. Just all the materials that we need to make Work Camp work.
Speaking of
is just not
paintbrushes,
going.
I went up to I think Lowe's and was just going to buy a paintbrush. And how much would you think a paintbrush is? Like if you were, if I know y'all know now, but
I don't. I still probably
how
don't.
much do you think they would be? Just and
tell
I'm
me
talking
what
just,
brand.
Are you looking for a
Just-
nice or just a?
Just a 4-inch plus paintbrush.
I would expect to walk into Lowe's and be able to find one for sub $2.
Are we talking about
Okay.
the Purdy brand, or are we talking about the Lowe's?
just the
brand?
See,
the
that's my-
cheapest one.
You
The
remember,
cheapest
remember
one they
that I
have.
do a lot of this kind of stuff.
The cheapest one they have.
so minimum $7.
They're $8.
I would expect to walk
They're
in and find like a
$8.
budget dollar paintbrush.
Yeah, I would too. I mean, how hard is it to make?
If you go to the Dollar Tree,
yeah.
And so
Like, I don't want it to last long. I just need it for this one project. We're gonna throw it
I
away
went
after.
in and was like, yeah, I'll just go grab, some of our kids didn't bring a paintbrush, so I'll just grab, a few. And there was a pack of 3 for like $30.
$15, $20.
I was like, a pack of 3 for $30-something dollars? What are we doing here?
Hey,
$10 a
but
paintbrush?
Let me say this.
And that's the Lowe's brand.
This has nothing to do with youth ministry, but let me say this. If you're for real about some painting, get a Purdy brush. I'm telling you. It's good stuff.
You've heard it here first.
Not a sponsor yet, but Purdy paintbrushes are awesome. It'll change how you paint.
and they're not bad to look at.
They're Purdy. Purdy.
All right, getting back to it. So yeah,
Sponsored.
when we talk about making cuts, the biggest thing that I want y'all to know is there has never been a time where I made a cut because of it being a failure. There have been times where I've tried out an event and said this doesn't work for us, and then we didn't do it the next year. But there's never been a time where I have just cut something out because it was a failure. The reason that I cut things out is I go back and go through the process of every time that I plan out my year or my next 6 months or however much, whatever it is, I always ask the question, why are we doing this event?
Yeah.
What's the purpose of this event? Is there any reason why we shouldn't do this event? And I go back and I do this every year. At the end of the year, I go back and look at all the things that we've done that year, and I say, usually this is somewhere around in October, and I say, is this stuff still doing what I want it to do? Is this the direction that I want to go? Are these events that I want to continue to go to? And I just revisit all of those things, and then I make a decision at that point to whether or not we're going to keep going or not, or if we're going to cut something or change something.
And let me say this. I think we have a lot of younger listeners that are young to youth ministry. This is not something I would do in the first year at a place. I would go to everything they've already been doing and see it.
Yeah, don't
and
change
maybe
anything.
even give it 2 tries, like 2 years or whatever, to evaluate, is this good or not? And then by year 3, like you've been there, you've seen what's happening. It'll be hard, but you just what Dee said, you got to have some of those kind of moments of conversation of, is this worth it? Right.
Well, and we're big on that. It's intentionality.
Yeah.
Is everything that we're choosing to do, is there a reason that we're doing it? Or we're being very intentional on where this money is going? Because your budget is limited. You do not have unlimited budget. So you're having to choose the events and everything to the best of your ability to where your kids are getting the best return on investment.
And I walked through this process in the book that Kirk Brothers edited, In Christ's Image.
Yeah.
I wrote a chapter literally on this, how to take the ministry on the road, and so we talked about different events, and whenever you're planning an event or planning out your youth ministry program and how it all works, I've laid out exactly how I do every bit of that from start to finish. There's a new program, there's a new event. I need to go through and flesh it out, see what I want, see what I like about it, see what I don't like about it, see if it fits in our schedule, and if it does, you can add it in. If it doesn't, we cut it, And so if you'd like to have that, I've got that whole chapter is nothing but that. That's what the whole chapter is about in that book, In Christ's Image, A Guide to Youth and Family Ministry.
Not a sponsor yet.
Kind of a sponsor.
Well,
Kind
actually,
of, but
not really.
On a serious note, if you do not have that book and you are in youth ministry or work with youth in some way, please do buy that book. It is very useful. Michael has a chapter. There's a handful of other people that have chapters within the book, and it is a very good book that is going to cover youth ministry from a wide perspective.
Yeah.
You're gonna see things, everywhere from child and adolescent spiritual development. You're gonna see things of college ministry and every single thing in between. So it's a fantastic book. I've been very lucky. I guess we'll say lucky to be able to read the book like 8 times at this point.
So you asked, I think maybe you asked, the first time you go into a meeting and the elders say, hey, you got to cut X, Y, Z, whatever it is, right? I haven't had that moment as much as like our elders really are on board. The last 5 years, they've really dug in their heels on, we're going to support youth ministry, children's ministry with time, with manpower, with money. We're going to pour resources into this. But what we have had conversations where they say, we come in and they say, hey, what we've got on the calendar is too heavy of a burden on our families, right? So financially, what's interesting is they're saying, hey, can we reevaluate your youth budget in a way that cuts the expense to the family, which is going to in turn, be more out of your youth budget, which I know the contribution is what makes the youth budget, but kind of the idea of hey, you're asking, families to pay $350 this summer to go to all these different events. And, how can we adapt to that? Right. And sometimes it feels like when you walk into an elders meeting and they tell you what to do with your stuff, it's like, kind of like, well, y'all aren't the ones working this in that first moment. But at the same time,
you feel defensive.
Yeah. Oh yeah. When someone says something negative about what you're doing, you immediately, whatever. But the reality is they're looking at a bigger picture of not just the youth budget, but they're looking at the family unit as a whole and trying to figure out, how can we help support these families and protect their, their involvement and that kind of thing. So,
well, and you also have to be realistic about it as well. You have to look at it from a parent's perspective.
Yep.
I guess Jeremy's kind of getting into that at this point. Lincoln's finally in the youth group. So you're really seeing it from more of a parent's perspective now.
I have an interesting anecdote to mention with that.
But you're seeing it more from a parent's perspective now. But what is it for us? My goal, and I've said this multiple times on the podcast. My elders know this. It's very blatant. I try and make every trip as cheap as possible. Yeah. So what does that mean? The budget's going to be a little bit bigger for some of these trips. That's right. And one of those, especially that I'm very involved in, I love it, I stand behind, is Exposure Youth Camp.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, it is. I love the timing of it because kids aren't busy at that point. But man, you're telling some of these kids are having to pay $275 immediately after Christmas.
Yeah.
But you also have to be realistic about it. Well, hey, if that's something you want to do and you want to help your kids out, and maybe they have to pay half of it and the budget can pay half. You have to understand that too. But also at the same time, not everybody's going to be in Michael's situation where they can get a 30% increase. Right. If you show up and you're wanting a 50% increase, the elder is going to want an explanation behind it. Hey, well, all of a sudden, why do you need this much money? You ran your youth group this way last year for half the cost. So what's different? So you need to be able to explain to them, well, hey, here's what's really going on. I'm going to try and make these events cheaper. We're doing some different events. We're adding some events, and we're kind of rearranging what it looks like. But also understanding, hey, you need to think about the parents as well. Do they need, for us, it's exposure. In December, January, we went to golf with the juniors and seniors. So those juniors and seniors are paying, close to $300, $350 for 2 months right after Christmas. Right. Are they able to do that? And then also making it blatant to the elders and the parents as well. If you can't afford these events, please let us know because we're going to help pay for those events.
Yeah.
Your kid, the excuse for your kid not going on the trip shouldn't be because of money, because we're going to have it covered. It should be something else.
Yeah, I tell our parents, and I have no complaints about how much I get paid or anything. I'm very happy with what I get paid, and I'm proud of it. And but I tell our parents, they'll come to me and say, "Wow, we can't afford to do it. Is there any way you can cover it?" And I'll say, "Yeah, that's fine." And they're like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry that I can't. That I'm having to ask for the." And I just tell them, "Hey, if my kids were in the youth group, they wouldn't be able to afford it either."
Yeah.
It's really not a big deal. We've got people who have, especially the last 6 months, have come to me and they said, here's $1,000. And if you need more, you let me know.
Mm-hmm. We have people all the time.
It's pretty awesome.
Will do that, and you don't even expect them to say, hey, I know there's going to be a kid that needs, and they want to help. Let me say before we move into this next little section here, I want to make a note to parents just real quick. I've been in this this May will be 22 years. Okay. Over those 22 years, many of you parents out there have entrusted me with the safety and discipleship of your 6th grader. And I want you to know, I've never had one die and I've never had one get maimed.
Really?
Never left one somewhere. But that being said, Jessica and I were talking about this week. I cannot believe that people have let me take their kid 5 hours away and wander the streets of Gatlinburg. Now we do it with safety parameters as best as we can. But like now that my son is in 6th grade,
Like, why are these parents doing this?
Hey, I love both of you guys, and I have a lot of trust in your ability to do your job. I wouldn't send Lincoln with you by himself. I'm telling you, like it blows my mind. So parents, thank you for trusting me. It's
real.
Now that I have a 6th grader, I go, he's just a baby. In my mind, he's just my little baby boy. But parents have been letting me do that for 22 years. So thank you for the trust.
I said that the other day. I was like, man, like I was interning at Flint with no youth minister. And we were
Yes,
going on these big
yes.
trips. I'm like, I'm a year older than these seniors. Like, why are they letting me do this?
Yeah.
Like, that was a terrible idea.
Yeah.
And, like, it worked out.
Like right now, I'm 40. It makes sense. I'm a man. I'm 40. Okay. But when I was 22 or 23, that was crazy.
Yeah.
And they
I love that.
and we let them do it all the time. Now, that being said, we got to be good at our job and know what we're doing and take care of them. But thanks for the trust, parents. And I've tried my best to not let your kid get hurt or killed. So
Okay, so let's play a game real quick. I'm going to play this new game. The elders have said you've got to cut back your budget by $2,000 this coming year. What's the first things that go? Okay, if you're thinking back, what are the first things that go?
Oh, man.
other ministers' salaries and the staff. No,
the preacher salary.
we could cut it by 10% and still no.
10%.
Yeah.
Pizza. And
Okay.
let me phrase that. Throughout the year we'll do game nights, and I'll do pizza. Hey, everybody, just show up. There's free pizza. We talked a couple weeks ago about Purpose Driven Youth Ministry, Doug Fields, and we talked about the different circles. And I mentioned that I've added one of those circles, and it's consumers. Those are the kids that are going to show up if there's food, if there's something like fun to consume.
Literally consuming.
So literally consuming. So for me, those nights are for those kids that I know those kids are going to show up if we have a game night and we eat pizza. If I had to change it now, is that $2,000 throughout the year? It really might be really close to that. It might be something where I can start going, hey guys, y'all start bringing $5 for dinner.
Yeah.
And it's going to help cover the pizza. It's going to help cover the drinks or whatever else we have to get for that, or dessert, or, guys bring drinks, girls bring desserts kind of deal. So that would help out on that side of it. So I'd say something along those lines. Although I wouldn't get rid of the event completely. I would just kind of charge them a little bit every so often. I mean, we do it maybe once a month. So it's not super often, but it'd be something that I could change that very easily.
The things that I think of whenever I'm going through that is basically what you said. And then
Fluff.
yeah, the kind of stuff that makes things better, but charging them, I wouldn't change what I do. I just say, hey, bring $5 if you can, and they usually will. The other thing is like t-shirts, maybe at this retreat, we're not going to do a t-shirt. I mean, honestly,
It's going to save much, but I mean, on a retreat, that might save $500 to $800.
But y'all do youth group T-shirts like every year?
We haven't, but we've started in the last couple of years.
We've started within the past
We're
3
gonna
years,
start,
and
yeah.
that's expensive. I
It
mean,
is.
that's well over $2,000. You're buying T-shirts for all of your youth group, and then what we do is any visitor that shows up the first time, they'll get a T-shirt.
Yeah.
So and so you're buying more than you actually need, and then you get them from Sunday Cool, so that ups the price a little bit. And but they feel they're so soft, and you that's the only brand you want. But so it definitely does do that.
But I, just saying, hey, t-shirt. If you want to get a youth group t-shirt, they're $10.
Yeah.
And then the visitor ones are going to be free for them. But $10 if you want to get. But that kind of stuff is the stuff that I would start off.
Well, and that's
with.
very reasonable. A $10 T-shirt, you're not getting that anywhere else.
Right.
I would probably now I know we talk about this all the time. We talk about the importance of your self growth and all that. I would probably try to find somewhere that there's something I'm spending for me to do that I would take out. For example, with NCYM, it's a great event, but it hits my youth budget pretty heavy, because I go to a conference, there's a hotel, there's travel expenses, all those things. I may not cut completely doing something like that, but I might find a variation that would be a more cheap version of something I could do. Now, I would be disappointed.
Pay for some of it.
Yeah, or pay some out of pocket. Like my immediate thought was, I'm going to cut something that's convenient to me to keep things that are convenient for the kids. Now, talking about like things like games and silly things, nights that we, technically you could do ministry without those things. But at the same time, we talked about just a few weeks ago how much some of those kind of silly moments lead to serious moments in their discipleship over time. So I would try to find something that would impact mainly me instead of impacting the kids.
Yeah.
If that
I
makes
definitely
sense.
try not to cut anything per se. It just, that bring $5 is a good idea. We all three of us do M2Y.
Yeah.
Maybe it's you're paying out of pocket for your hotel or something.
Yeah.
The church will cover the cost of the registration fee, but you might pay for the hotel or something along those lines.
Or like going to ball games, instead of
you
paying
pay for that
with the church card or paying, getting reimbursement or whatever, just not turning in that reimbursement. But thankfully that doesn't happen often. But the reality is, at some point you hit a point where the economy isn't going well. Or something. This happened in the late 2000s, early 2010s. And churches were having to make big changes and cuts and figuring out how we're going to survive. Because things have crashed, people are struggling to pay their bills. That kind of thing. So, finding whatever little things that you can add up to big things.
And also not allowing it for you just to start paying for everything.
Yeah.
Because there does have to be that fine line. So now I just kind of want to move us
We
on to
don't
this.
get paid enough to pay for everything.
Yeah.
Just to be honest.
Let me ask you
I mean,
this.
it sounds bad.
What is something that you would never cut from your youth budget? If let's say you did have to make some cut, what's something that you would never touch? You just leave it alone. It's going to stay the same no matter what.
It would only increase.
Yeah.
That would be, we cover a large portion of Maywood Camp and Uplift.
Yeah.
And those are two things that I probably wouldn't cut.
It would be for me too. It would be some things like for example, Winterfest this weekend. We budgeted a huge amount of money for this. Not because it's just so expensive. I mean, it's an expensive event, but we tried to make it as minimal costing for the families as we can. And I would keep some of those expenses. I might have to lessen it a little bit, but I would try to keep those. Maywood, we don't do as much for Maywood, but we do for Uplift. And try to offset costs. I really like anything where I can offset costs for families. I would try to keep.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree. Mission trips would be another thing, because I think those are really important. We've kind of started doing this new model that I've been doing where we're doing every other year we're going to go on a mission trip.
Yeah.
So this past summer we didn't do a mission trip, and this year we're going to.
Let me ask y'all this. I know you've already gotten your intern. You're still looking for a boy intern, a guy. Would you ever cut an intern?
Yes.
Would that be something that would come up early? Because I don't have one, so I'm not tied to it.
Well,
It really depends.
There's so much
Yeah.
value to an intern, and it's not just doing work with me.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, and you can speak to this too. Having an intern makes my job harder in the summer, if I was being honest.
Yeah.
Like, it absolutely creates more work for me
in
that I could
certain-
manage myself.
certain situations.
Yeah, but the value for our youth group kids of an intern working with them, the value for our church of learning how to be hospitable to a guest and welcoming them for the summer, the value of what we're hopefully planning missional kind of work for future churches somewhere else one day. We're training someone to go be a really great volunteer or staff person at a church one day. There's so many valuable things about it, but I would consider that, as a cut possible because the reality is I've done a lot of youth ministry summers without an intern.
Yeah.
And I could
when there's
keep it
there's a lot higher return on investment per se having an intern versus not having an intern as
Yeah.
well. So I think it had to be a big budget cut for y'all to consider getting rid of that.
Yeah.
I would not want to do it. I enjoy interns, and I try to be as effective when I use them as possible. I typically will do a ton of stuff on the front end. That way, when they get here, they're prepared and they're ready for whatever happens as much as possible. And so, but interns, they can be a huge blessing, and they can be a pretty big chore if you're not doing it how you should. But anyways, that probably wouldn't be one of the first things that I cut. It would probably be something kind of in the middle.
I was just curious. I don't have interns. I haven't had interns yet. It's one of those things, but I don't know things I would never cut. I guess obviously Exposure Youth Camp. I love it. Just kind of helping the kids out and really parents out at that time of year.
Yeah.
I definitely wouldn't want to cut that or help make them pay full price.
I would add that into what I said.
And
about
then
camp.
this technically isn't in my per se budget, but I'm still kind of involved with it as Lads Leaders. We pay for a good bit of Lads Leaders as well, and I would never get rid of that either. I just see both of those just have great outcomes for the kids, and I wouldn't want to get rid of those. But something too, I don't know if it's on our outline. I just kind of do want to mention this too. I want the listeners to understand that this isn't just a one-size-fits-all thing. You have to kind of understand what your youth group is. I made a big cut this year, and I guess I'll go ahead and out. Most people kind of know we're not going to CYC this year,
and that's in two weeks. Yeah, this week's Winter Fest.
We're not going this
CYC.
year. I've been every year since, man, I can remember. And especially at Flint, we've gone every year. This year it just didn't pan out. I didn't have kids that signed up. It just
wasn't enough interest.
There wasn't enough interest. It was going to be too expensive. With the amount of people that did sign up, it was going to cost double. For them just to offset the cost. It just didn't make any sense for us to go. So I had to cut that. It was a hard cut. It was something I wasn't expecting to do this year. I've kind of had it per se on the chopping block for a couple of years now, but we've enjoyed it. The kids enjoy it.
Did it surprise you how you felt about cutting it? Like you're
I was
even though you knew, it's like, man, I don't know.
Like it stinks. But at the same time, what I understand and what the elders understood, and we had to kind of explain to parents, is we did not get rid of an event. We did not just chop an event off and say, hey, we're just going to do one less event. We've picked up other events in the past that now have gained a lot of popularity, and the kids love to do that.
Like golf.
Our juniors and seniors absolutely love that. We've picked up Rush within the past couple of years, and the kids love going to Rush.
It's really I had a kid that actually said last year after we finished out Rush, the first year that I was here, they were like, it was fun. The next year they liked it. This past year, one of our kids, Marshall, was like, it may be my favorite event.
Oh, yeah.
And I was
fantastic.
like, are you serious? He was like, it might be my favorite.
Yeah.
Like numbers wise, we're taking more people to that than we usually take to CYC.
Yeah.
Because it's closer. It's a little bit more convenient.
Or a lot less
expensive, but it's just a really good event. So it's not, so if you're a youth minister and you're having to cut things, get rid of things within your budget.
Find substitutions.
Find the other things that they enjoy, but also understand it needs to fit your youth group. Your youth group might not excel at CYC. Your youth group might not excel at exposure. Your youth group might not excel at, it depends on your demographic, what's going on. Because a lot of these, it is timing, it is the location and things like that.
So something that, and Michael may be about to speak to this, I don't know. We have a way of not interrupting as much. We raise our hand a little bit on the podcast here. But Michael did this, right? He cut CYC a couple of years ago. But he kind of did a substitution with a different type of event, and you can speak to that. But I'm betting it was a huge swing in your budget cheaper. Am I right?
Oh, yes. Yeah. I mean, it was $2,500 to $3,000 cheaper to do what we do now. And we do it the same weekend. And we rent out Maywood, and we go, and we're leaving in a couple weeks to go do that. And I'll just tell you, our attendance skyrocketed. The number of adults that come on the trip, they skyrocketed. I mean, every single area that I was wanting to see growth, it's cheaper. This is a little controversial. We have better speakers that come and speak. We have, I won't say better speakers. But,
who's speaking this time?
Lucas
Is
Dahl.
it Hunter?
Lucas is going to speak this time.
No.
And I won't say better speaker. I'll say speakers that are going to do the thing that I would like for them to do. I'm more in
the
control.
topic that you
want.
Yes, that's
you
what
control
I mean by
what's needed for your group.
Correct.
You go to CYC, you go to Winterfest, you go to any of the EYC, whatever. You're getting whatever the one size fits all for all the 3,000 people or 8,000 people or whatever.
That's really what I was meaning when I was saying better speaker. I meant like
topic wise,
and
for what your group needs.
But with Lucas, yes.
Yeah. So I'm doing what? Well,
keep fluffing him up. Maybe he'll sponsor our booth.
He's going to come speak, and we've already been on the phone, and I'm able to tailor his lesson. And he's like, "Hey, what do you think about this thought?" And I'm able to tell him, "Yeah, that sounds great. Do that."
Yeah.
And then if he said a couple things to me, I was like, "No, let's go more in this direction." Oh, okay, yeah, I can do that. And then also I got somebody to do our songs, and so we're sharing that kind of stuff. So those songs are now being implemented according to the lessons, according to the weekend, and I have more control over all of that.
Intentionality.
And so, yes.
Right.
Our theme is +1. Who's going to be your +1 to heaven? I'm really excited about it, and I think it's going to go over really well. And we have more control over it. It's $3,000 cheaper.
Yes.
Which is insane.
Well, it opens you up to do different things that you might not have done for CYC, like getting a group T-shirt or getting a guest speaker or doing a little bit more elaborate dinner on Saturday night than you might have done in the cabin. You know,
on Saturday or on Friday night and Saturday night, our dinners are like top tier. And it's going to be great, and it's just because we've made those changes, and also Jeff Goff has been awesome to work with.
Oh yeah, Jeff's just great.
He was really great. So shout out to him and Maywood. They do great things over there.
I would venture to say, and I think we take it for granted, one of the best retreat facilities in Alabama, if not like in the Southeast. Great location for anything.
Yeah.
They've done so many updates to that place.
They just hosted a large college retreat this past week with like 5 or 6 different colleges in attendance. So it was really cool.
So look, I'm gonna walk us through kind of my thought process whenever I am planning out something or whenever I start out at a new church or something. And how we can best understand all of that. Okay. Right. So I'll ask you guys, what's the first thing that you do? Let's say you started a new church or you are starting a new ministry or you're needing to make some changes. What is the very first thing that you do?
Pray about it. I mean, like I know that sounds generic to say, but like, when David comes back to find the Amalekites have ransacked his city, before he goes and does anything, he talks to God about it and he says, what would you have me do? And then God sends him on mission, right? But he takes a moment and speaks to God.
And it's important that it's easy to just pray, but listen for what God is trying to tell you to do.
Yep.
Okay. So many times I have said that prayer and I'm like, God, lead me somewhere, and then he's like, hey, I need you to do this. And I'm like, nah. I just,
okay.
And so it's important to very much listen for what he's trying to, and even if it's something that you don't think is going to work God's telling you to do it for a reason. He's leading you that way for a reason. And so, listen to him in that. Yeah, that's a great answer. Yeah. All right. What about you, Hunter?
I mean, we've kind of already mentioned it, prioritizing the events, this intentionality. What do you want from your youth group? What are you wanting to grow? How are you wanting to grow? And that kind of also goes along with the events that we're already having. Maybe your youth group has changed over the years and you really wanted, for me, CYC was one of those where the youth group really grows closer together with each other. Maybe your youth group is super close and maybe you need something else now. Maybe that's not as much of a priority anymore and you're looking for whatever you need next. So prioritizing those events, getting the big events scheduled, and understanding that you don't need to have too many big events to where they have so many choices to go elsewhere or like, oh, I'm just going to show up to one instead of all 4 or 5, but give them, the big 3 events, big 4 events every year so they can choose those big ones. And it also kind of gives the parents a heads up of like, hey, here's the big events we're going to have. Here's when they are. Make sure your kids aren't doing anything those weekends. And also make sure you start saving up for these events.
Yeah.
That's something I've started doing within the past couple of years is we do our like youth group dinner. We bring in the 6th graders and I give them like a major event piece of paper of like everything we're doing for the year. It has when it is, it has where it is, it has the cost. And I explain, hey, cost might change a little bit, but for these like main events that are more expensive, they won't change, regardless of what the economy does. Here's what it is.
I had a friend. He's not in ministry anymore, but he called it his one big meeting.
Yeah.
And he would have one big meeting I think it was at the end of the school or at the beginning of the school year.
I do. Mine's after the end of summer, beginning of school year.
And he would have his entire year laid out and how much each event would cost. And I mean, all of that stuff. And not to say he didn't have other meetings, before a trip, he'd have a big meeting, but he had the one big meeting where there was everything. He'd pay for there to be food there and he would do all that. And
we do,
and I started doing that.
We do Italian food. I bring in the new 6th graders. I have the seniors that are leaving. I have them kind of say a couple minutes about the youth group. And then I present usually it's the fall calendar. And I also present like the yearly big event calendar as well.
Yep.
So we did something a few years ago, and this is something that I think is a way that you could do some cutting in your budget or cost management in your budget. We did a chili cook-off. Now, you wouldn't have to do the same thing, but we did a chili cook-off at a church, and anybody could submit, chilies, and we had different age divisions, all that. And then we had like a cakes division where you could submit a cake, and we had people judge them, put a mark in the little box to say this is one I think. And we auctioned off pies and cakes. Like we did all this stuff, and it was like you donate to come to the event. to be a part of it. And anyway, all that happened, and it was communicated on the front end. Every single bit of the money that was raised in the event went towards the students who helped serve the event, who helped, setting up all the tables and chairs, breaking everything down, taking out the trash, cooking the food, serving the guests, all that. So all the teens who participated and served with that, and we let them know, like, if you participate in this, you will have a share in what is donated. And so all of the donated monies that happened were split over the year to help kids' costs be more manageable, and helped our budget, because we didn't have to budget an extra $10,000 in our budget, because a big chunk of money was donated towards those things from the membership that just wanted to come support our teens, right? And they knew what was going on with that.
Yeah. One
That's a
thing
neat
too,
idea. I like that.
one thing too, like scale down instead of cancel. Instead of just saying no, we're just wiping it out. Instead of having a 3 day something, instead of having a work camp where we stay for a whole week and we do this,
And
we do a 3 days throughout the summer or 4 days throughout the summer where we just scale everything down a little bit, but we still have those work days and we still call it work camp. We just don't do it all together, and we don't have to pay for all the food and all the.
We're nearly doing the exact same thing. It's just spread out,
Correct.
and people are having to take an entire week to host people in their homes or wherever that might be.
Right. And so, okay, then the last thing I wanted to ask you about is, what if the elders want you to cut something that you are really, really passionate about and do not want to cut?
Throw your job on the line. Like, hey, listen, if that goes, I go.
If that goes, I go. I'm done.
I will say this though. We started this whole conversation talking about the intentionality of knowing why your budget says the numbers it says, right? Why do I put these things on there? Mm-hmm. You better be able to defend why. Yeah. Because if you go into a meeting and they say, well, why are you wanting to do this? And you go, it's a great event.
Yeah,
that's not like what.
Well, and like the idea of we've always done it. That shouldn't be your answer.
We had, and this isn't a budget expense thing, but we do every first Wednesday night. We do a singing night every first Wednesday, and that's something I've done for 20 years.
Within your youth group or within the church?
No, within the youth group. So the youth class. Let's say a quarter is 13 weeks. I don't actually have 13 weeks of lessons. I have 10 weeks of lessons every quarter, and 3 weeks of singing nights on Wednesday nights.
Must be nice to only have 10 weeks.
I know. Yeah. But here's what it is. Our kids.
I can imagine.
You know and I know the value of teens worshiping together, being excited about being together to worship, learning new songs, encouraging each other in song. There's all these kind of moments, right? Even the fact that you're teaching scriptures at times and they're memorizing scripture by learning, certain songs, right? So I came into a meeting one time, and the bottom line was, at the time, one of the elders' grandson wasn't into singing, and I went in, and he had more or less said, you don't need to do singing nights anymore. Now, we weren't spending any money on that, right? But I had to, in that moment, give defense of why we do this, right? And I more or less said, look, I respect you guys. I appreciate what you're saying, but I disagree with you wholeheartedly on this. And I'm going to stand by what I think is right on this. And I explained to them the value of what happens when teens worship together. And after that conversation, they understood, right? And we went back from that. We continued our singing nights. I say that to say, if you've got to come in and defend something about your budget, you better know why you do it and why it matters, because you may not be able to defend it if you don't.
Yeah. Right? When I do my budget proposal, I have in the notes under, like, I've got where I'm going to put all the money, and then like I've got my budget pulled up right here. And
I was actually about to pull mine.
Summer senior high retreat. Okay. And I said, this retreat's focused on building up leaders. Our seniors are given an opportunity to address the younger students, give them advice about how to keep their faith when they leave, and what they can do to be better godly leaders in the church and in our youth group. And then I say, I have this much money because, and then I lay it out. Then, Camp Maywood, if we didn't have so many people that volunteered this past year with staff, with working in the kitchen, helping with security and all of that stuff, we would have blown our budget by nearly $1,000 had we not had that. But we did, so we got like a short little discount thing on that. And then, but I have the reasoning. This is why I have this much money. We had this many students last year that came to camp. We pay half of their price to go to camp, and this is how it all played out, And I have under each one of those specific things, I think there's like 12 big events that we do, and under each one of them I have, this is why I'm budgeting this much money. We had this many people last year. I'm expecting this many people this year. If that plays out, here's how much it's going to cost.
And if there is major changes to your budget from year to year, you need to identify those things. And like, don't assume that they'll figure it out, right?
Or that they'll notice it.
Yeah, you just say, hey, look, I realize, and for me, I'm looking at my budget template right here. I have a little category over here that shows what we did in 2024, what we did in 2025, what we projected for 2026 when I'm making my budget request.
Yeah.
And I show the percent change from the previous year to this year's request because I want them to see, hey, we're asking for 16.47% more than we did last year in operations, or we're asking for this much less and this thing, because I want them to understand, one, I'm intentional about this and I know what I'm doing, and I've taken time to think about it. If I have an event that I think may cost me $770, I don't put $800 or $750. If I know what it's going to be, I'll put $770, right? Because
with change and everything else.
I want them to understand though that I kind of worked over this a good bit, right? This is something that I took my time to figure out. And they asked me for just a bottom line number this year, which is awesome in terms of nobody's scrutinizing it. But I didn't turn in just a bottom line number. I turned in an itemized, here's all the events that go under events. Here's all the outreach events. Here's all the things for trips. Here's the milestone marker things that we're doing this year. And I showed them all those things, not because they cared as much about knowing all the little details, but it shows them that I know the details.
Yeah.
And I took intentionality to plan out my budget and that it matters. And I think that's why for the last 3 or 4 years, they've said, hey, this is great. We're going to approve the whole amount. You obviously know what you're trying to do.
Hey, before you keep going, I also
Shut up, Jeremy.
No, I add this little thing at the end wherever I have here's what the budget looks like and everything, but then at the very end, it's not on this sheet, but at the very end I say this is only 1.5% of our entire church budget. Is it really not worth?
I think Jeremy does something similar.
Let me tell you my guilt trip thing.
You do the per kid?
I say, well, there's 71 kids on roster. And if we got 100% participation, which is what we should hope for and budget for, and I said, then it comes out to be $900 and something per kid for the year. And then I put, which one of our kids isn't worth $900 this year?
I got him.
Until those elders start checking off names.
Yeah, no, that kid's, we're
Get
going
him out of here. Get him out of here.
Well, they'll check off Lincoln. They'll say, okay, we can cut
I'll
Lincoln.
tell you this. Bottom line, if you can't defend an event, you probably don't need to be going to that event.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yes.
That's
It's
the
a waste of
simplest
your
way
time
to
and
do it.
money.
And I do the same thing Michael does. I explain, hey, here's the event. Here's how much it costs. Here's why we go to the event.
Yep.
And the elders asked me this year, I guess, or I guess last year technically, I talked about it. I talked with them about it. But we did golf. This is our second year doing golf. We really enjoyed it. The first year, I just took seniors. That was kind of like a little senior trip, but it was still the spiritual side of it.
Great
They
idea.
loved it. But then for me at golf, I realized that it's really for juniors. Or if you're going to bring seniors, you really need to bring juniors because all the colleges are there. They're providing lunches, they're providing meals, they're taking them out to dinner. There's different things, and it's really utilized for those juniors that are still looking for places to go. Because I mean, usually for people by January, you already kind of know where you're going your senior year, or you already have a plan. So I upped the budget. It probably close to doubled that one particular event. And they asked me, hey, well, why are you taking juniors out of nowhere? And it wasn't like, hey, like you're in the wrong. It's just like true curiosity.
Help us
Like, hey,
understand this change.
why are we doubling it? And that's within the paper, I explained it too. And I said, well, it's really for juniors as well. So I'm wanting to take juniors and seniors. And I explained to them just what I said about the colleges. And they understood. They get it as well. But as youth ministers, you also have to understand, they're elders, they're shepherding the flock, they're looking after the money, they're making sure the Lord's money is being used in the right way, and maybe not right, the best way possible. So we need to make sure our budgets are also doing that as well. Are we using our budget in the best way possible, or are we just trying to fill it with fluff? Or are we really being intentional with, hey, these events are going to help our youth group grow, and it's going to help us grow in the way that we need this youth group to grow?
Yeah. Just from, I told y'all I was able to add 3 new budget line items from the increase that I got this year. And that also allowed me to make some cuts in areas that were not so effective last year, And so making those cuts, planning those out, and making sure that you're doing things with a reason, with intent, with a purpose, And so if you find that, I mean, this is what happened with me and CYC was like, I just said, this event is no longer reaching what my intention for it is. It got to the point where my kids were they said, we just want to stay at the cabin. We don't want to go to the lessons. We'll just do this. And once everything kind of shifted that way, I talked to my adults that were on the trips and I talked to the kids that were on the trips and I just said, would y'all rather just do a retreat? And that's what they came up with. We would just rather do a retreat. It's just
don't be scared to change things. If something's not working, change it. And if it doesn't work there, change it back. It's okay.
Yeah. If you are not, last thing I'll say, and then we'll kind of start closing it out. But if you are not at least once a year dropping the ball on something, something's kind of just failed. And I don't mean just catastrophically. I just mean like, this didn't go as well as I was hoping. Then you need to be trying things. You need to be trying new things. You need to keep adding in stuff, trying out some stuff, seeing how they react, seeing how they how things go with that trip. If the kids like it, if the adults like it, and if they don't, just say, hey, we're just trying this out, and it didn't work out, so we just won't do it again. But I do want to keep trying things.
Yeah, we're doing that this weekend for the first time. We're doing a new thing. We're headed to Winterfest, and we're staying with Beltline's group. Like we're going together and renting a cabin.
Giant cabin.
It sleeps 78. We have 75 people going.
Nice.
It's gonna be awesome, but it's gonna be different, right? And I've heard a little dissension. You know who you are, listeners. But from my youth group, they're like, I don't know, I'm nervous about this. But like, it's gonna be different, and it's a new idea, and it may go awful, right? It may be like, this just wasn't our thing. We like having our own space, whatever. Or it may be awesome. We don't know. We won't know until we're done with it. But Sam and I are pumped about it. We're excited, but we're trying to figure out, is this something we might want to pursue? We're trying so much in our area to do more things together.
Yeah.
And I thought it was going to be a really cool opportunity. So we're trying it.
Another thing that is making sure that the adults that come on your trips and things are people who are going to help and they recognize things. It's never happened before where I took an adult and the adult was just like, I'm just really disappointed in the way that things went. That's never happened to me before. Every single time they're like, I want to go to the next thing. I need to go to the next, and so I've had one time where the elders said, hey, we're going to have to cut this event out. And I was very much like, no, we're not going to cut this. And I brought 2 of my youth deacons in and was like, I don't even have to defend it. I'll let them.
Yeah.
And those guys were like, you're thinking about canceling. No, we're not canceling this. And they said, and I said, that's why I want to have this trip, And I said, they didn't even mention the things that I would have mentioned. They just defended the trip because their kids went on the trip and they loved it. And they know what kind of impact it makes and the value of it. And we left the meeting with them saying, okay, we'll keep it how it is, Well,
that's awesome.
Anything else y'all want to talk about?
Well, I hope y'all's budget's already turned in.
It's gonna be we're a little late on
February.
but the thing is, and this is reality. This happened to you a few years ago. I think this is a pertinent conversation. A few years ago, you were very much over budget on the youth budget, not because you did a poor job planning, but because Hartselle blew up with participation, which is awesome. And they had to have some conversations mid-year about what are we going to do, right? What do we need to cut that we can fund better to this camp? Or do we need to evaluate and add more to the youth budget right now or whatever, right? Being able to have those conversations in the year and evaluate what's working, what's not, it's important.
And having an eldership and being clear with them. Yeah. Like one of the elders came up and he said, hey, you're over budget. What's going on? And then I said, hey, could I get with all of y'all just one day after church or something? And just sat down with them and was like, here's why. Because I planned, last year we
planned
had
for 18 and had 40.
Yeah, well, last year we had 5 that went to Uplift, 5 students, and then we had 2 adults that went to Uplift, 3 adults that went to Uplift. So we had 8 total. This year we had 18 total. Yeah. And that just blew it. I planned for 12. Yep. And we had 6 extra people. And 4 of those 6 I paid full price for because they couldn't afford to go without it. And so then there was, but it was every event was like that.
Rush, and this year you'll probably
Rush, I planned for 20, and we had 44.
I would say y'all were in the 40s.
And so, and then we had, it was just every single event that we had, it was like just blew up, and there was no way to
elderships
plan
will get
that.
behind a conversation when you say, we're having more kids want to be a part of what our youth group is doing. This is the problem. We have too many kids wanting to do more.
And shout out to my wife for going to some families that were kind of on the fence about some stuff and reassuring them, like, yeah, you want to be at this event. And those kids and those parents buying in.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Also,
really
keeping
cool.
up with your budget throughout the year.
Yeah.
It's going to mean a lot more to the elders if you approach them before they realize you're going to go over budget.
Yep.
And then you can go ahead and try and get that budget extension or maybe, you know, explain to them, hey, we're just growing. Like this is why you know, in the simplest way, this is why you hired me to grow the youth group, and we're doing it. So we're going to need a little bit more money on that.
We had that problem with Leanne with children's ministry in the first year to year and a half after she got here. She started working with our kids ministry, and it started growing quick, right? And she's doing a good job. And so she more or less came in, and the elders, you know, she was worried about and they were like, this is what we hired you for, right? This is why we want you here. Because of what you're happening right now.
We'd be concerned if it wasn't
and they
growing.
said, this is just a growing pain, and we got to work through it and figure out how we're going to proceed, right? But they're excited about it. What Hunter just said, though, these conversations across the conference table go a whole lot better. And we've talked about before, you know, that doesn't need to be the only time you talk to your elders is across the conference table. But when you have these conversations about money across the table, they go a whole lot better when you come in with a spreadsheet and say, hey, here's what we spent already this year on CYC, or this is what we spent on camp, or this, and they already can see, like, you take your job serious and you prepare and you're not lazy. You actually are a good steward of what they've blessed you with serving.
Yeah. I just get my bank or my credit card statement at the end of the year, or I mean at the end of each month.
At the end of the year.
At the end of the year, just throw
Good
it.
luck.
No, at
Just
the
throw
end
in
of
the
each
trash.
month,
Burn it.
and then I just go through it
Yeah.
and just put where everything is and how much I
Yep.
spent and all that stuff, just so that, you know, I'm keeping up with it and know where my budget is.
I want to say this at the end of the budget conversation. I interviewed 3 different students yesterday who are accounting or business majors with a minor in Bible. And I said, you have no idea how valuable that will be in youth ministry. Like we have a new secretary working at the church, and I was texting her just a bunch of budget stuff and, you know, send a check for this, and we need this paid for a t-shirt or whatever. And I said, I bet you had no idea before coming in how much youth ministry is travel agenting and accounting.
Yeah.
Like there's so much that you don't even realize.
All right. Well, check out our website. Oh, wait.
Wow.
One day we will tell you that, and it will be true.
We're trying to do a little better about posting things on social media. Guys, in case you didn't know, I was paying attention.
You're killing it.
The last couple of times that we've actually posted an episode. Our listenership or in our everything has increased significantly after
Baby
making
girl.
those posts on social media.
Oh.
I didn't think it would make that much of a difference, but it really, I mean, we're getting about 20 people more
So what are we
When we-
averaging
when we do that.
on
20
first day?
million
per week.
First
Oh, on
day,
the first
like
day.
after-
About 30 on the first
Okay.
day. And then by the end of the week, it's usually we'll end up around 70.
That's great.
So, yeah.
That's a good
not
start.
Bad. Not
All right.
bad.
Good
And that's
start for
total,
episode 58.
not just,
1,000.
not just Spotify. So
Not 1,000, 28, 30, 100.
3,800.
I think it's about 100 billion. Something like that.
Yeah. That's
Well, hey, we hope that your ministry is blessed.
Blessed.
Thanks for joining us today in the important conversation of youth ministry. Go and follow us on Instagram and check out oksyouthministry.com for more information about our upcoming episodes. We'll be dropping a new episode every Wednesday morning, and we look forward to talking with you again next week. And hey, it's okay to be the OKS youth minister around, but let's all strive to be just a little bit better.
We're doing our best, we're not the greatest, but we're loving these teens, we're the okayest. Michael, Jeremy, and Hunter too, keeping it real for youth ministers like you. The okayest youth ministry podcast. Real talk, real ministry, real okay.